Let me ask you a question. How many of you have ever had an idea, a great idea, but you never acted on it? Maybe you thought about starting that business, writing that book, improving your health, but somehow weeks turned into months and months turned into years. And all you were left with was the thought, I should have, I could have, but I didn't. You see, ideas are everywhere. Plans are everywhere. Dreams are everywhere. But results only belong to the ones who act. And the truth is, your entire life can change with just one decision. The decision to finally move, even when you don't feel like it. You know, I've been in many rooms over the years talking to people from all walks of life. Young folks, older folks, wealthy ones, struggling ones. And I've noticed something fascinating. The difference between the person who lives the life they dream of and the person who dies with regret often boils down to one thing. They forced themselves to act. Not when it was convenient. Not when all the lights were green. Not when they felt like it. They acted right in the middle of fear, uncertainty, and discomfort. You see, you can read all the books you want, attend all the seminars, write down all the dreams on paper, but nothing changes until you move. It's almost comical, really. People ask me, Jim, what's the secret to success? And I say, the secret is, do something. They smile and say, yes, but what else? And I repeat, do something. Because motion creates results. And without motion, nothing changes. I've learned that your life will never be shaped by what you think about doing. Your life will be shaped by what you do. One day, I met a young man at a conference. He told me, sir, I've been planning my business for 3 years. I said, well, that's a long pregnancy. Is it a baby or an elephant you're carrying? He laughed nervously and said, I'm just waiting until I'm ready. I said, friend, let me tell you something. You'll never feel completely ready. Readiness is a myth. It's an excuse dressed in a tuxedo. What you need is not readiness, it's resolve. And resolve comes when you say, I'll do it, and I'll figure it out as I go. Here's the truth. The moment you force yourself to take action, you break the invisible chain that's been holding you back. That chain is made of fear, doubt, and hesitation, and it's stronger than steel if you never test it, but the second you act, you realize it was made of paper all along. In this message, I want to talk to you about why forcing yourself to act is the single most life-changing decision you can make. Because there are two pains in life. One, the pain of discipline, doing what you must when you must. Two, the pain of regret, wishing you had acted when you had the chance. One pain weighs ounces, the other weighs tons. My friend, choose discipline. Choose to move. Choose to act, even if your knees are shaking. And by the time we're done here, I hope you'll never again wait for perfect timing, perfect conditions, or perfect confidence before you move forward. Because the truth is, success doesn't go to the one who's the smartest, or the most talented, or even the most connected. It goes to the one who moves first, who moves often, and who refuses to stop moving. So let's start. Part 1. The nature of action. Now, why do people hesitate? Why do people fail to act, even when they know what to do? I'll give you 3 reasons. First, fear. Fear of failure, fear of embarrassment, fear of looking foolish. Second, perfectionism. We want everything to be perfect before we start. We want the timing, the plan, the conditions to all line up. Third, laziness, simple unwillingness to do the work. But here's the truth. You don't need to see the whole road to take the first step. You don't need perfect conditions to plant seeds. If the farmer waits for perfect weather, he never plants, and if he never plants, he never harvests. One of my favorite principles is this: you cannot hire someone to do your push-ups for you. I could send my trainer to the gym every day, but if I don't go myself, I don't get the benefit. Personal action is non-transferable, and that's why forcing yourself to take action is non-negotiable. No one can do it for you. They can encourage you, they can inspire you, but at the end of the day, you must put on your shoes, you must make the call, you must write the page, you must take the step. Action is the bridge between ideas and reality. Without action, even the best ideas remain nothing more than dreams. Step 2. Discipline over feelings. Now, let's really dig into this thing we call discipline. You see, one of the biggest mistakes people make is thinking they can trust their feelings. But here's the truth. Feelings are some of the most unreliable guides you'll ever meet. If you only act when you feel like it, you'll never get very far. Think about it. How often do you feel like getting out of bed early? Not often. How often do you feel like exercising after a long day? Rarely. How often do you feel like saving money when there's something shiny in the store window? Not very often. And if you let those feelings decide for you, you'll drift into a life of mediocrity. Discipline, on the other hand, doesn't consult your mood. Discipline doesn't ask, how do you feel today? Discipline says, this is what needs to be done. Do it anyway. Let me give you a simple example. Brushing your teeth. You don't wait until you feel inspired to brush your teeth. You don't say, well, maybe tomorrow morning I'll get motivated to brush. You brush because it's a discipline, a habit, a necessity. And your dentist is grateful you didn't leave it up to your feelings. Now, why not treat reading, exercising, saving money, or building your business the same way? Why not treat them as non-negotiable disciplines instead of optional feelings? Here's the truth. Minor disciplines create major results. Let me say that again. Minor disciplines create major results. It's easy to do the little things. It's easy to read 10 pages of a good book. It's easy to drink an extra glass of water. It's easy to write down 3 goals for the day. But here's the danger. It's also easy not to do them. And that's the real test of life. The difference between success and failure often lies in whether you do the easy things or neglect the easy things. Because neglect over time creates disaster. But discipline over time creates fortune. Think about the farmer. In the springtime, he must plant. He doesn't say, well, I'll plant when I feel like it. The season doesn't care how he feels. The season is not going to wait for his mood. If he doesn't plant in the spring, he'll have nothing to harvest in the fall. That's the law of the harvest. You can't reap what you didn't sow. And life is full of harvests. Physical harvests, financial harvests, spiritual harvests, relationship harvests. Every harvest depends on whether you acted with discipline when it was time to plant. Here's something else. Discipline always pays you back more than it costs. At first it feels like discipline is robbing you of comfort, but in the long run it gives you freedom. The discipline of exercise gives you the freedom of health. The discipline of saving gives you the freedom of wealth. The discipline of learning gives you the freedom of wisdom. The discipline of honesty gives you the freedom of trust. But neglect flips the equation. Neglect of exercise robs you of health. Neglect of saving robs you of options. Neglect of learning robs you of wisdom. Neglect of honesty robs you of relationships. Here's what I learned. Everybody pays. You either pay the price of discipline now or the price of regret later. And the price of regret is always heavier. You've probably heard me say this before. Discipline weighs ounces, regret weighs tons. And that's the truth. Now, discipline doesn't mean perfection. Discipline means consistency. It means you show up more days than you don't. Perfection. It means you keep the promises you make to yourself. If you miss a day, fine. Just don't miss 2. If you fall off track, fine. Just get back on quickly. Because the danger isn't in falling down, we all fall down. The danger is in staying down. Discipline is what gets you back up. So discipline over feelings, that's the rule, that's the practice, that's the secret. Because here's the final truth. Feelings come and go. Discipline builds legacy. Part 3, the small steps that lead to great rewards. Now let's talk about the power of small steps. Sometimes the reason we don't take action is because the task seems too big, the mountain looks too tall, the goal seems too far. But here's the secret. You don't have to climb the whole mountain today. You only need to take one step. Success is not some giant leap. Success is a series of small, consistent actions taken daily. Let's take saving money as an example. If you save $1 a day, it doesn't look like much, but add discipline and time, and it becomes something remarkable. The magic of compounding turns small actions into big results. Same with health. Walk 15 minutes a day. Doesn't seem like much, but do it every day for 10 years, and you'll be in a different place than the man who didn't. One did the easy thing. The other neglected the easy thing. And the difference after years is massive. Success is doing ordinary things extraordinarily well. And that's why the first step to forcing yourself to take action is not making it harder, but making it smaller. Don't try to write a book in a day. Write 1 page. Don't try to run a marathon tomorrow. Walk around the block, just get moving. Because action breeds more action. Part 4, the heavy price of inaction. Now let me give you a warning that could save you years of heartache. There is always a price to pay. Always. Action has a price. It takes energy, effort, sacrifice, sometimes a little discomfort. But let me tell you, the price of action is cheap compared to the price of inaction. Because the price of inaction is regret. And regret weighs tons. I've sat across the table from men and women in their 50s, 60s, even 70s, and I've heard them say, Jim, if only I had started earlier. If only I had taken action when I had the chance. If only I hadn't postponed my dreams. If only I hadn't let fear keep me frozen. And when they said those words, there was always this look in their eyes, a heaviness you don't forget. Because you see, regret is a burden you can't easily shake off. Here's the difference between mistakes and regret. You can recover from a mistake. You can learn from failure. You can rebuild after a setback. In fact, failure is often the raw material for success. But regret is different. Regret is looking back and knowing you never even tried, that you never gave yourself the chance. That's a wound that doesn't heal as easily. Opportunities once gone rarely return in the same form. Sure, life will give you new chances, but some doors close forever when you ignore them. The time to act is when the season is right. The farmer who doesn't plant in the spring cannot turn to the soil in the fall and say, I've changed my mind. Nature will say, I'm sorry, sir, you had your chance. And life works the same way. So, I have a question for you. Where will you be in 5 years if you keep postponing? Where will you be if you keep saying someday? Now, let me tell you something. Someday is not on the calendar. There's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, but I've never seen someday. Someday is just a code word for never. You see, the pain of discipline weighs ounces, but the pain of regret weighs tons. And the tragedy is, most people would rather carry the tons later than carry the ounces today. But that choice will shape your destiny. Let me give you a picture. Imagine 2 men. They're both 30 years old. One says, I'll start saving, I'll invest, I'll study, I'll exercise. The other says, I'll get around to it someday. Fast forward 30 years. One is healthy, wise, financially independent, surrounded by opportunities. The other is broke, tired, frustrated, and filled with regret. What made the difference? Not luck, not chance. It was the daily choice to act or not act. And here's something even more sobering. Regret is not just about money. It's about relationships you never built because you were too busy. It's about children you never taught because you postponed the conversation. It's about dreams you buried because you were waiting for the perfect time. So don't wait. Don't postpone. Don't say someday. Pay the price of discipline now so you don't pay the price of regret later. And here's the good news. You can start today. You can start small. It's never too late to take action, but it is always too costly to delay. Now I'll leave you with this. The first step is the hardest. But once you start moving, something powerful happens. Momentum. It's like rolling a snowball down a hill. At first it's small and hard to push. But as it rolls, it gathers snow. It gets bigger, heavier, faster. Action works the same way. The more you do, the easier it gets to keep going. Confidence is not built by waiting. Confidence is built by doing. You don't become confident and then act. You act and then you become confident. And here's another principle, the law of averages. The more you try, the more you succeed. If you make 1 call, you might succeed, you might not. But if you make 10 calls, the odds are in your favor. Action increases your chances. Inaction guarantees failure. So don't underestimate the power of momentum. Start small, but start now. So let's bring all of this together. We've talked about action, we've talked about discipline, we've talked about small steps, the danger of neglect, and the heavy weight of regret. And if there's one message I want you to carry with you today, it's this. You must learn to force yourself to take action. Don't wait for motivation. Motivation is not a visitor that knocks on your door. Motivation is the reward that shows up after you've acted. Action first, feelings later. Don't wait to feel ready. Readiness doesn't come before action. Readiness is shaped by action. Discipline is the bridge between your goals and your accomplishments. And discipline doesn't care how you feel. Discipline says, do it anyway. Remember, success doesn't come from one big leap. It comes from the accumulation of small steps taken consistently day after day. It comes from the little things, reading 10 pages, saving a few dollars, making that call, having that conversation. And here's the warning, neglect is just as powerful as discipline. If you neglect the small things, they accumulate into disaster, and disaster over time becomes regret. And regret, my friend, is far heavier than the price of discipline. The first step may be hard. Yes, it may be uncomfortable. But once you take it, you begin to build momentum. And momentum is a wonderful thing. It turns effort into confidence, confidence into opportunity, and opportunity into success. So here's my challenge for you today. Don't just sit back and say, that was good. Don't just nod your head in agreement. Knowledge without action is wasted potential. Pick one thing, just one that you've been delaying. Maybe it's a phone call you need to make. Maybe it's opening that book that's been sitting on your shelf. Maybe it's walking around the block. Maybe it's starting that savings account. Whatever it is, do it today. Not tomorrow, not next week. Today. Because success is not built in a day. Success is built daily. It's built in the moments when you choose discipline over feelings. It's built in the moments when you act, even when it's inconvenient. It's built when you decide, once and for all, that regret will not be your story. So choose discipline. Choose action. Choose to start now. And remember my words. Discipline weighs ounces. Regret weighs tons. Today, I am reminding you that the future belongs to those who act. So go take action and build the life you were meant to live.